The manga begins with a flashback from 8 months ago. Sakura Makoto, a 16-year-old boy, is informed that he has been expelled from school. Sitting calmly, he reacts with a smile and a laugh, as if he doesn't take the situation seriously. Meanwhile, other students watch the scene in disbelief, thinking it must be a joke. As rumors about Makoto's expulsion spread among the students, he walks showing no concern to their comments. They say he hit a classmate and was expelled after just 2 weeks at the school. Damn, wouldn't you know, the truth is that he tried to stop someone from getting bullied, but ended up getting into a fight. Even though he was the only one who got beaten, unsurprisingly he was forced to leave because the bully was the son of the student council president. While reflecting on this, a boy calls him in the courtyard. And of course, it is the son of the student council president. He approaches Makoto and starts mocking him for getting expelled. Without giving him a chance to respond, he kicks him and insults him, calling him trash. Makoto is thrown to the ground and has a drink spilled on him. The bully taunts him, saying he should have chosen better before trying to play the hero. Makoto, injured and kneeling, only lets out a weak sound in response. Later, Makoto returns home hurt. When he tells his parents about the expulsion, his father, both angry and shocked, started questioning why he would cause trouble when both parents are busy. His mother, trying to solve the situation, picks up the phone to call the school. Neither of them asked what really happened. Not even his parents supported him. Without a second thought, Makoto heads downstairs and decides to leave home. His father tries to stop him, saying it's not over yet. But Makoto replies, saying it's over. As he closes the door, he thinks to himself that it's all his fault, taking the full weight of the injustice he has suffered on his own. Alone and discouraged, Makoto looks out over the city from High Point. He lets out a tired sigh, reflecting on how complicated the adult world and social bonds are, full of senseless rules and absurd limitations. Sitting on the high ground, Makoto wishes for a life with more freedom and happiness. Suddenly, he notices something strange in the city. Huge, mysterious structures have appeared out of nowhere. He realizes the ground has shaken slightly and is surprised to see that many of these buildings have appeared at the same time in different parts of the city. Makoto is shocked by a strong tremor, much more intense than the previous one. He grabs onto the railing to avoid falling, startled by the impact. Then he stares at one of the mysterious structures up close. Curious and intrigued by what is happening, Makoto approaches one of the structures and notices it is identical to the others that appeared earlier. Looking closer, he spots a staircase leading down into the dark interior of the structure. Surprised, he wonders if it's possible to explore further. A boy sees on social media that the mysterious structures haven't only appeared in Amore, but all over the world. As he watches in shock, other users post images of strange creatures that have emerged from these structures. A hooded figure with a skull face catches attention. Someone laughs at this, but most react with shock and doubt. As one normally would, Makoto runs toward the entrance of the structure. These buildings have come to be called dungeons all over the world. Seeking freedom and a new purpose in life, he decides to enter without hesitation. This step will change his fate entirely. Along with the appearance of the dungeons, massive earthquakes strike the world with an unknown epicenter. News reports show that people have been attacked by creatures after entering these structures, and some have died. The government issues warnings and advises the public to stay away from the areas. Investigations and emergency evacuations are announced. Makoto carefully descends the long staircase of the dungeon, heart racing and eyes wide open. Upon reaching the bottom, he finds a huge cave filled with sharp formations and a mysterious atmosphere. Enchanted, he can hardly contain his excitement, exclaiming how amazing it is. Inside the dungeon, Makoto hears a voice in his mind informing him that the level system has been activated. Confused, he asks what this means. The voice explains that by saying status open, he will be able to see his information, items, and magical abilities like in a game. Curious, Makoto tests the command and is surprised to see a glowing interface appear in front of him. Makoto looks at his status screen and becomes frustrated upon seeing extremely low attributes. A voice begins to guide him, explaining basic concepts like HP, MP, and skills. He tries to ignore it, saying he understands. But soon, the voice reveals that by leveling up, he will gain a random skill or enhance his current one. His is Fire Magic Level 1 with a rare feature of infinite level. Makoto encounters a Level 1 slime and decides to test it as his first enemy. The system voice explains that his infinite level up ability allows him to surpass evolution limits. He becomes excited, thinking it all feels like a game. As he tries to approach, he trips and injures himself. The voice then instructs him to point his hand at the monster and say the skill's name. Determined, Makoto follows the instruction and activates his magic. Makoto uses Fire Magic Level 1 for the first time, hitting the slime directly. The creature is engulfed in flames, and he watches fascinated by the effect of the attack. After defeating the monster, he receives the notification that he has leveled up. Excited, he gets up, finding the whole experience extremely fun. The system voice announces that the tutorial is over and wishes Makoto good luck. Curious, he asks the entity's name, which responds that he can call it whatever he wants. Makoto chooses dropping out Chan, saying it's a great name. As he moves away, something strange appears before him, and he wonders what it could mean. Right after the tutorial ends, Makoto encounters a massive and intimidating creature, a minotaur. The system displays the recommended level to face it. 20. With a nervous smile and cold sweat, he lets out a forced laugh, realizing it's completely out of his league. Makoto is brutally hit by the minotaur and thrown hard onto the ground. Groaning in pain, he tries to recover and quickly activates his fire magic, shouting the skill's name mid-fall. Even though he's hurt, he doesn't give up and tries to counterattack with everything he's got. Lying on the ground, Makoto realizes he didn't manage to use his magic and opens his status to understand why. He sees that his MP is 0, which makes the failure more obvious. As the Minotaur approaches, he remembers a new skill he gained upon leveling up. With a newly acquired sword in hand, he prepares to face the monster with everything he's got. Confident with his new skill, Makoto faces the Minotaur. But instead of fighting directly, he runs. The monster shouts that he's dead while Makoto runs toward a slime, planting something. He finds exactly what he was looking for and smiles, ready to put his idea into action. Makoto quickly defeats another slime with his sword. Upon confirming his victory, he wonders if he really managed it. Soon after, he gets the notification that his level increased by 3, reaching level 5. Surprised and sweating, he realizes his rapid evolution ability is more powerful than he imagined. Makoto discovers he has gained a new skill, 1000x experience points. With it, each monster defeated give 1,000 times more experience. He realizes he leveled up much faster and gets excited about the potential. Motivated, he clenches his fist with confidence, ready to face even more dangerous enemies while the Minotaur watches him, preparing to attack. The next day, Makoto's parents are worried about his disappearance. His mother rushes into the room and tells his father that she received a text from him an hour ago. Surprised, his father asks where he is now, and the mother prepares to reveal what Makoto said in the message. As his parents discover that Makoto is in the dungeon, he faces the Minotaur again. Now with confidence in his eyes and already at level 15, he charges toward the monster, determined and without hesitation. Even panting from the battle, Makoto spends half a day in the dungeon and learns many things. He discovers that even if walls or the floor are destroyed, everything regenerates over time. Additionally, the monsters respawn after a period. With this, he realizes he can use this cycle to train and evolve endlessly. Makoto continues testing the dungeon's rules. He notices that as he approaches the stairs, the Minotaur stops pursuing him. Thinking of taking a break, he decides to send a message to his mother, but notices the connection is unstable. He also comments that even the items seem messy in the system. Despite the danger, he remains calm and carefully evaluates his options. Makoto confirms another rule of the dungeon. Monsters can't leave it. He uses this to his advantage to retreat, go outside, and rest for a while. However, upon returning, he's caught off guard and thrown against the wall again. Realizing that even with a break, the battle is far from over, Makoto finds himself cornered with no way out. A new monster appears, and he's out of mana, low on health, exhausted, and hungry. His attacks have no effect, and he can't level up. Completely exhausted, he faces the desperate situation without understanding how he ended up in this position. At that moment, the monsters Makoto had previously defeated begin to respond. Realizing the opportunity, he quickly reacts and attacks, seeing the perfect chance to gain more experience and change his critical situation. A slight smile appears on his face, showing that he doesn't intend to give up. Taking advantage of the monster's respawn and his ability to earn 1,000 times more experience, Makoto defeats enemies one after the other. His levels rise rapidly, 19, 22 until he reaches level 25, as he moves forward with determination, showing that his strength is now real. Makoto defeats another powerful enemy and notices the huge leap in his evolution. His level jumps straight to 43 from a single battle. Impressed, he understands the potential of his multiplied experience ability and how much this can change everything from now on. Makoto, dirty and panting, smiles enthusiastically. After everything he's been through in the dungeon, he feels something new: freedom. To him, that chaotic and dangerous place is in fact liberating. 2 weeks later, a helicopter flies over a modern city while a crowd gathers below protesting. Signs are held up and voices echo forcefully. Everyone demands that the portals to the dungeons be open to the public. During a UN meeting, representatives from around the world discuss whether the portals should be opened. One of the leaders stands up and states that the items and level system obtained in the dungeons cannot be explained by current science. He advocates for using these discoveries as part of a new technological revolution, and amid the silence in the room, makes a direct appeal. Please open the door. During the debate, a voice opposing the idea is heard questioning whether the investigation was truly thorough. The voice claims that this is not a sufficient reason to open the portals. It mentions that within the dungeons, neither modern weapons nor communication equipment work, which makes traditional science useless there. In response, the advocate for opening the portal states that the world needs people with high levels, not armies, and suggests abandoning old ways of thinking to face this new reality. The man argues that any citizen, regardless of region, should be able to explore the dungeons freely. He proposes that the state buy the items obtained from inside, considering it the most effective path. He emphasizes that it's necessary to warn about the dangers involved, but that the decision to enter should be the responsibility of each person. According to him, the reward system is working well. The narrator states that despite ignoring the dangers, the dungeons offer things like dreams, money, fame, and freedom. Therefore, it would be necessary to give a name to those who choose to explore them, but without treating them as heroes or as reckless. The suggestion is to give them a neutral name: the player. 8 months pass. In December, a new dungeon with a recommended level of 40 is shown in the Ayamorii province. The scene focuses on the 5th subterranean floor, highlighting that the events now take place in the present. A group of adventurers faces a terrifying Minotaur, much more intimidating than the ones they have faced before. Despite the tension, one of them says they are fine. The monster is so out of the ordinary that it doesn't even have a defined recommended level. The Kudo siblings group is in despair in front of the Minotaur of unknown level. Ya and Yui try to convince Hiro to flee, but he must fulfill his role as a background character by sacrificing himself to ensure the others escape. Aware of the risk, he takes on the responsibility, saying that if everyone tries to escape together, they will end up dead. He screams desperately for Hiro not to attack, but he moves forward courageously against the Minotaur, yelling not to be underestimated. Hiro thrusts his sword into the creature's chest. The strike isn't good enough, and Hiro is violently thrown to the ground. Hiro is wounded and lying before the Minotaur, while Yi desperately shouts for everyone to flee. In shock and already out of strength, Hiro looks up. The scene cuts to the real world, where an advertisement on a cell phone announces the recruitment of new players, suggesting that more people are being called to this dangerous reality. Hiro mentally says goodbye to Yui and Anya, apologizing for involving them in something so absurd. He regrets being selfish by forcing them to be part of his decision. Then he shows resolve to face the creature alone, saying he wants them to remember that moment. Facing the Minotaur head-on, Hiro faces the Minotaur, offering sincere apologies. He seems to accept his fate in a very brave manner. Suddenly, something unexpected happens. A distortion arises and envelopes Hero, the Minotaur, and another mysterious character, pulling the three of them into the center of a vortex. The MC appears suddenly and attacks the Minotaur with full force, landing a direct blow to the creature's chest, creating a spiral impact at the location struck. The Minotaur screams in pain, while Hero watches the scene in shock. The MC finishes the Minotaur with a devastating blow to the chest. Hero, and Yui are in shock at the scene. Shortly afterward, the MC approaches with a carefree smile and asks if everyone is okay, explaining that he heard the screams and ran over. After defeating the Minotaur with a single strike, the protagonist receives thanks and praise from the others. They're impressed by his strength and ask his current level. He begins to calculate, even mentioning the enemy he just defeated. The protagonist answers with a calm smile that his level is 10,000, completely surprising the others with the absurd revelation. Everyone is utterly shocked when they see on the screen the name Sakura Makoto, accompanied by an absurd level 10,000. Their reaction is one of pure astonishment and disbelief at that surreal number. Makoto officially shows it through his status screen. Level 10,000. The others are completely stunned as they confirm that he has reached this absurd number. Thanks to the 1,000 times more experience ability combined with the infinite level capacity, he was able to surpass any normal evolution limit. Makoto excitedly boasts about his level, as one should. But Hiro seriously reprimands him. He explains that revealing this kind of information could put Makoto at risk, as the whole world, not just the Japanese government, could try to control or use him. If that happens, he would lose his freedom. Hiro reassures Makoto with good humor, telling him to pretend nothing was heard and assuring that the kids didn't hear anything. He acknowledges that Makoto is not a bad person. Quite the opposite, he's their savior. Embarrassed, Makoto promises to be more careful. He appears excited and surprises the group, asking if Makoto heard everything. She praises his strength and speculates that he is aiming for one of the big challenges, an important dungeon. Makoto, confused, doesn't understand the surprise and responds simply, leaving the others even more intrigued. He reveals that the government launched a national challenge. Whoever defeats the boss of the Red Shadow Dungeon in Okinawa at the deepest floor will receive a bonus of 30 million. Makoto reacts with surprise upon hearing the amount. With a bright look and full of enthusiasm, he repeats several times how interesting that is. The idea of such an important dungeon that the government is offering a reward makes him even more curious and excited. The others watch his reaction, surprised by his enthusiasm. Makoto thanks them for the information and says he will need to leave quickly. However, when mentioning that he would arrive on Monday if he left that day, Yui corrects him. The next day is still Saturday. She then realizes that Makoto has been in the dungeon for a whole week. Embarrassed, he confirms that since leaving home, he hasn't left the place and comments that it would be quite complicated if this story spread. Makoto says goodbye, thanking them for the information and saying that since everything is resolved, he doesn't need to be invited to a meal. He then runs down the dungeon corridor, leaving the group behind. As the others watch his departure, Hiro apologizes to the girls for causing panic earlier. Hiro thinks about giving up because he no longer feels capable of protecting the group as he did before, saying that he's too old. But Ye interrupts him firmly, reminding him that he was the one who reignited the group's spirit. She emphasizes that the small failure doesn't matter and that from now on they will become the strongest united as an unbeatable team. Hiro is moved by the support from his companions. He declares with strength that they will try. Everyone responds with enthusiasm, promises, and jokes reinforcing the group's bonds. The scene ends with a sense of unity and hope in the snow, symbolizing a new beginning for the team. Makoto arrives in Okinawa feeling the intense cold of winter, something that surprises him. As he watches the snow-covered city, he comments on the weather and reflects on the 8 months since the appearance of the dungeons. During this time, various structures and modes aimed at players have been created. Makoto arrives at the Aomori Branch Dungeon Center. The place operates 24 hours a day, allowing players to buy or sell items at any time. Makoto begins unloading numerous items onto the dungeon's center counter, leaving the attendant stunned. The employee is speechless upon seeing the absurd amount of objects being pulled from such a small bag. She comments that the volume of items doesn't make sense for the size of the backpack, finding it unbelievable. Makoto explains that his backpack is a magic bag, a magical item that stores anything, regardless of size or quantity. He mentions that it was obtained as a drop from a monster called Adam and Tight. The employee is impressed and quickly associates the name with the image of a giant turtle, assuming that Makoto defeated an incredibly powerful creature. He's surprised by the reaction, only responds with a ha indicating that the situation is going beyond what he expected. Makoto walks through the dungeon center and begins to be approached by several people wanting to form teams or asking for evaluations. He notices, surprised, that there's a dungeon right in the middle of a location. An employee explains that in fact the store was built around the dungeon, something he only realizes at that moment. The attendant mentions that the dungeon there is of low rank, but no one has managed to defeat the boss so far. Noticing Makoto's interest, she tries to encourage him, but he shifts focus and asks how long it takes to evaluate an item. Upon hearing it takes about 10 minutes, he decides to try doing it using RTA, surprising her with his confident initiative. Two adventurers comment on the rumors of the U-rank dungeon, saying that it was scary, but didn't seem like much, thinking the boss had probably been defeated long ago. Meanwhile, Makoto quickly descends to the 5th floor, the deepest part of the fated prison dungeon. Determined to investigate on his own, Makoto realizes that the dungeon boss's presence is still active. Feeling the air grow heavier and colder, he explores the floor until he identifies the creature, the Slime King, a monster of unknown level. The Slime King notices Makoto's presence and tries to flee at high speed. Makoto reacts quickly and chases after him, jumping between the dungeon structures to keep him in sight. Makoto realizes that despite the Slime King being low rank, no one has managed to defeat him so far. He notices that surprisingly the slime is even faster than him despite being level 10,000. Given this, he decides to use a special ability to handle the situation. Makoto activates his ice magic at level 10 and freezes the entire environment in an instant, including the Slime King. The freezing explosion spreads forcefully, completely immobilizing the enemy, who reacts with surprise at being frozen so quickly. Makoto finishes the Slime King with a direct attack to the frozen core. The boss explodes into ice fragments, and a rare item is left behind. His level jumps by 9,900, which I feel is a number we're not paying the needed attention to. Makoto opens his status window and is shocked. His level has risen to 19,900. He realizes that the reward for the victory was even greater than he thought. The Slime King, despite being just a low-rank boss, gave an absurd amount of experience precisely because he was so hard to hit. Makoto decides to test his new skill, Flying Cloud Magic, level 1. As soon as he activates it, he starts floating in the air, surprised by the effect. Excited, he realizes he is indeed flying, and the skill seems to work perfectly on the first try. Makoto realizes that his new flying ability is still at level 1, so he can only float slightly. Frustrated, he abandons the idea of flying to Okinawa alone and decides to stick with the original plan, traveling by plane. 2 days later, Makoto arrives in Okinawa province. He is confronted by the huge movement around the entrance to the Red Shadow Dungeon. Rank H. Surprised by the structure and the number of people, he observes the place where his next challenge will take place. Makoto overhears disheartened conversations from other adventurers about the Rank H dungeon, considered extremely dangerous. Others complain about the powerful monster at the start, saying that the 30 million reward proves the risk. While most think of giving up, Makoto walks confidently toward the entrance. One of the adventurers calls him curious about his determined attitude. An experienced adventurer warns Makoto, saying that even though he is level 66, he barely managed to escape the dungeon alive. He advises Makoto to give up, thinking the young man is only seduced by the 30 million reward. Makoto listens calmly without revealing his level. While a helicopter approaches, and he seems unconcerned, casually thinking about the situation. Makoto watches in surprise as the helicopter lands near the dungeon entrance, impressed to see it so close for the first time. Soon after, an imposing figure appears. A stylish and determined girl escorted by 3 suited agents, making it clear that something serious is about to happen. The girl with an air of authority shouts for Makoto to move out of the way immediately. Surprised and slightly intimidated, he stands still, thinking that this is the first time he's seen a real lady up close. Makoto tries to calm the situation by saying she's just a kid too, even though they are the same age. The girl gets angry and proudly introduces herself as Maria Fongold, stating that she's not a kid. Meanwhile, Makoto notices that the man who is there quietly disappears. Maria confidently asserts that she is level 99 and that this type of dungeon is nothing for her. Makoto and the others are surprised, but they notice that despite this, she still seems very small. When Makoto comments on this out loud by accident, she gets annoyed, stating that she's 12 years old. Makoto directly responds, 12 is still a kid. Maria gets irritated by Makoto's comment and accuses him of being rude. When he tries to explain himself, Maria's bodyguard interrupts and declares that due to her Russian Yuta bloodline heritage, Maria is already considered an adult at the age of 12. Because of this, she demands respect and reinforces the idea firmly, leaving Makoto visibly speechless. Maria decides to enter the dungeon alone, asking her bodyguard and the others to wait outside. Makoto thinks this is strange, as someone at level 99 would go in alone, but he holds back his doubts and simply apologizes. The bodyguard watches him in silence, intrigued by his reaction. Makoto enters the Red Shadow dungeon and is impressed by the place, finding the interior well organized for a rank H dungeon. While observing the body of a defeated monster, he hears a scream coming from a corridor further ahead and immediately follows the sound, alert to what might be happening. Makoto is shocked to see Maria, the girl who claimed to be level 99, running desperately while being pursued by a giant monstrous boar. She screams for help, clearly in panic. Confused and disbelieving, Makoto watches the scene and questions if this is really the same level 99 child who had been bragging moments earlier. Maria continues fleeing in panic, shouting for help while the monstrous boar chases her closely. Makoto, already prepared, extends his arm with magic, ready to be cast, and surprised by the scene, asks what she's doing. He then firmly warns her to duck quickly while magical energy gathers around his hand. Maria watches in surprise as Makoto's magic hits the giant boar with devastating force. The explosion sends debris flying and the monster is completely smashed against the wall. On the ground, Maria stares in shock at what just happened while Makoto calmly approaches after the precise attack. Maria is still in shock, staring at Makoto with a surprised and speechless look. Maria reacts angrily and embarrassed, saying that she didn't ask for help and accusing Makoto of lying. He, not understanding, simply observes. She proudly introduces herself, but Makoto confronts her, reminding her that she's level 99 and questioning why she fled. Instead of fighting, she tries to justify that there was no other choice. Maria admits that she has never defeated a monster that was still moving, leaving Makoto surprised. She explains that the others fought until nearly dying and she just finished them off to gain the experience. He questions why she boasts about that, but she remains proud. When Makoto decides to leave, she unexpectedly grabs him by the face, catching him off guard. Maria tries to convince Makoto to let her join the group, claiming she'll grant special permission. He ignores her, points to the exit, and says that she should ask the security guards for help. Maria insists that she won't leave and wants to complete the dungeon. Makoto, irritated, asks why she ran earlier, even after speaking so determinedly. The situation turns into a confusion between pride and stubbornness. Maria admits she's afraid and begs Makoto to face the monsters for her. Even without courage, she grabs him, saying she won't let him go until he agrees. With that, she proposes an alliance. Makoto, confused by her words and actions, finally gives in, saying, "I understand. Let go." Maria becomes excited, thinking that Makoto has accepted the partnership, but he tries to talk before agreeing. When he says that helping a child doesn't bring any benefit, Maria gets offended and retorts, asking if he really believes there's no advantage in teaming up with her. Makoto then asks why she is so determined to finish the dungeon, suspecting there's more to it than just the money reward. Maria reveals that her real goal is to prove her maturity to her parents who live far away. She's not after money or experience points. What she really wants is the recognition of being the one who completed the Red Shadow dungeon. Makoto is surprised by this declaration. Makoto thinks about Maria's request and concludes that being honored and becoming the center of attention would be inconvenient. As someone who values freedom and peace, he decides to let Maria take all the credit. With that, he agrees to the partnership on the condition that she claims she completed the dungeon alone. Makoto agrees to team up with Maria, and the two shake hands excitedly. She proudly tells him to feel honored to be on the same team. Makoto, without arguing, accepts, saying he knows that, but emphasizes that this partnership is only for this dungeon. On the second floor of the Red Shadow dungeon, they encounter a level 60 demon boar. Maria, determined, promises that this time it will work. Makoto, silent, just watches as she tries to act confidently. But when she asks if he at least carries a weapon, he keeps walking silently, hands empty. Makoto hands Maria a sword and tells her that although it seems frightening at first, she's level 99, so it should be fine. With determination, she grabs the weapon and charges forward to face the demon boar heathen, staring at it with courage as the monster charges toward her. Maria charges full force and lands a direct hit on the demon boar, knocking it down on her own. Soon after, she celebrates excitedly, saying it's the first time she has defeated a monster by herself. Makoto confirms that everything is fine now. Excited, Maria climbs the stairs, saying that level 99 isn't just for show and that she'll be the one to complete the dungeon. Makoto follows calmly, thinking everything is probably fine. As they ascend to the third floor of the dungeon, Makoto curiously asks about Maria's abilities since he's never seen her use any. She becomes excited, striking a pose and saying she'll tell him everything. Maria, excited, says she has learned 4 super strong abilities. Instead of explaining, she prefers to demonstrate and begins to activate one, asking Makoto to pay attention while she prepares to show the first of her powers. Maria confidently activates the Vacuum Magic Level 5 ability, firing a magical beam that tears through the wall ahead. Makoto watches in surprise at the power of the attack. But soon, the scene cuts to both of them staring confusedly at the destroyed wall, as if the result wasn't exactly what they expected. Makoto comments in surprise that it's the first time he's seen vacuum blade magic. Maria admits that her control is still poor and that she always ends up hitting the wall unintentionally. She then reveals her second ability, level 10 healing magic, capable of healing any wound instantly. While Makoto reacts with amazement, Maria prepares to show her third ability, which she says is rare. Maria reveals her third ability, level 1 revival magic, which allows her to resurrect the dead. Makoto is surprised and wonders if she's the only one in the world with this power. Comparing the ability to a game bug, Maria then prepares to show her fourth and final skill, a super rare skill that grants 10 times more experience for defeating monsters. She proudly asks if Makoto has ever heard of something like that. He understands why she's at level 99, but seems unimpressed with her over-the-top excitement. Makoto realizes that he never thought much about his own abilities and reflects that there may be people with the infinite level-up ability. When Maria directly asks what his skills are, he hides the truth and says he has nothing. Internally, he feels it's unnecessary to talk about his secret 1x experience skill and decides to keep it a secret to avoid problems. Maria, on the other hand, begins to suspect and gets irritated with his vague response. Maria is completely surprised when she discovers that Makoto masters several level 10 magic skills: fire, ice, lightning, and even one unknown skill, the flying cloud magic. She excitedly praises him, saying he's very strong. Meanwhile, Makoto thanks her shyly. Maria, full of confidence, declares that she's the strongest after Makoto and tries to confirm this with him. Even without a direct response, she assumes that he is also level 99 and happily celebrates the idea of them forming a powerful duo. Makoto, on the other hand, just thinks about how optimistic she is, saying nothing to discourage her. Maria enthusiastically declares that they are the strongest team and without hesitation self-proclaims herself as the team leader. Makoto once again just observes in silence without contesting, letting Maria go on with her excitement. Makoto laughs lightly, saying it's true, while Maria watches surprised at this more relaxed side of him. Although he initially stated that the partnership is only for mutual benefit, he admits to himself that trying to get close to someone like her isn't so bad. Maria, impressed, thinks it's rare to see Makoto smile like this. Makoto recalls the past, revealing that he has allied with others before, but it was apparently disappointing, something he considers nothing interesting. Meanwhile, on the 6th floor of the Red Shadow dungeon, Maria screams in panic. Maria screams in horror as zombies approach and runs toward Makoto, calling for help several times. Makoto calm protects her with a powerful strike that sends the enemies flying. In the end, Maria tries to hide her fear with a forced smile, saying that rank H isn't anything special, not even him. An adventurer is surprised by a monstrous creature and tries to defend himself in vain, shouting for help. Makoto watches the scene calmly while Maria, desperate, runs toward the battlefield, saying that she will save him. After the rescue, the adventurer sincerely thanks Makoto for saving him and restoring his magic. Maria watches in silence while Makoto, relaxed, responds that it was no problem. He then jokes with the man, saying, "Look who's talking," keeping a light tone despite the situation. The adventurer, after thanking him, says that he's in a hurry and starts leaving. Maria questions him, surprised, as he was heading in the direction they came from. The man responds embarrassed that he's going back. Makoto suspects the reason might be that someone has already completed the dungeon, but the adventurer quickly denies it, saying that this would be impossible. As they walk through a corridor full of adventurers, a voice comments that the two must be very strong. However, it warns that strength alone isn't enough to complete that dungeon. Makoto's expression changes upon hearing this. Makoto and Maria arrive at the 7th floor of the Red Shadow dungeon and are confronted by a huge crowd of adventurers gathered, all apparently stuck or unable to advance. Makoto and Maria discover that the lake on the 7th floor is entirely made of poison. A girl warns that the liquid paralyzes the body slowly until it prevents any movement. She comments that an adventurer jumped into the lake an hour ago without thinking and was only saved thanks to the intervention of a woman with glasses. Makoto reveals that he cannot use purification magic, which surprises the others as everyone there is expecting a user of that magic to cross the poisonous lake. Maria panics, not knowing what to do, but a woman intervenes, saying that there's another way to cross without needing that magic. Makoto picks Maria up in his arms without warning, leaving her completely embarrassed and unsure of what to do. Ignoring her confusion, he simply tells her to hold on tight. He then uses a high-speed ability to cross the poisonous lake in a single leap, leaving everyone stunned. Maria panics upon seeing that Makoto intends to cross the poisonous lake with a jump, thinking it's impossible. While she screams worriedly, he calmly activates Flying Cloud Magic Level 1 and begins to fly over the water with her in his arms, leaving her completely speechless. Makoto crosses the lake, flying with Maria in his arms, leaving everyone in shock. She, embarrassed and angry, tells him to let go of her and complains about being touched, even though he was just trying to save her. After landing, Maria is shaken, feeling embarrassed for being carried like that in front of so many people, especially by someone who isn't even her boyfriend. She remembers the tight hug and thinks he should take responsibility for that. Meanwhile, Makoto acts normally and comments that the next stop is the 8th floor. Unaware of how much the situation affected Maria, who watches him with her face completely flushed, Makoto finds the change in Maria's behavior strange and asks what happened, reminding her that they need to move forward as much as possible today. She, still confused by her own feelings, reassures herself that she needs to tell her parents about her achievement. Then she suddenly becomes excited, stares at Makoto, and enthusiastically says that as soon as they finish the dungeon, she will tell everything to her father and mother, leaving Makoto confused about the sudden excitement. Makoto masters the flying cloud magic technique while advancing through the 13th floor of the Red Shadow Dungeon. Having already spent 10 hours exploring, he combines flying cloud magic level 2 with fire magic level 10, flying over the enemies and launching powerful fire attacks. Maria watches in awe and compliments him, saying that this is exactly what one would expect from Makoto-sama. Makoto eliminates a monster with a direct attack while protecting Maria. Still surprised, she confirms that she's fine, but questions why so many monsters are suddenly appearing. Maria defends herself by saying that buttons are meant to be pressed, even though she clearly pressed a suspicious one. Makoto comments that it did indeed seem strange. As they discuss resting, Maria insists that she still has energy. Suddenly, Makoto sets up a tent, surprising Maria with his sudden action. Makoto sets up a full camp with towels, food, and clothes, leaving Maria impressed. He says he'll keep watch while she can rest. Maria is surprised by the practicality and magic of his bag and gets excited, saying that she wants one, too. She thanks him enthusiastically, admiring Makoto's speed and organization. Maria makes Makoto promise something with a pinky swear and becomes excited when she hears his confirmation. She happily enters the tent to rest, while Makoto rests outside the tent. The girl thanks him sincerely, praising his level 10 fire magic, saying it saved her several times. She comments that his preparation was thorough and compares his power to that of a great warrior, leaving Makoto surprised by the sudden gratitude. Makoto asks how Maria knows the group Senate Nagurin, and she responds casually saying they're the most famous team among the youth right now due to their strength and appearance. Makoto is surprised while images of the group are prominently shown in the media. Maria mentions that she's met the leader of the team, Kamishiro, and says he's a really nice person and that she would like to see him again. She reveals that she had an adventure with him in the past, but didn't expect the team to be so famous. Makoto, surprised by Maria's words, tries to change the subject, saying she's just dreaming. She in turn jokes that he must be jealous. This scene takes place 7 months ago, showing a flashback of the protagonist with several others, including some people who seem important to the story. The protagonist reflects that since their meeting with them, the sense of freedom inside him has been shaken,